Hi, I'm Marcel James. Welcome to The Pulse. Last month, I interviewed Alan Graves. Alan is the CEO of a company called DoNotAge.org. Now, I take some of their supplements, namely resveratrol and NMN in powder form, and I also take TMG to help manage my methyl groups from taking NMN, an NAD booster. Now, Alan also takes the supplements because he's trying to avoid turning out like this, whereas unfortunately, my before picture actually happened, and I'm now trying to turn back the tide. So without further ado, here's my highlighted version of my interview with Alan. Hello, folks. Welcome back. I'm Marcel James with The Pulse. Today I've got a special guest, a very special guest, Alan Graves, the CEO of DoNotAge.org. Alan, welcome to The Pulse.
Thank you, Marcel.
First question is, you're so young. You look about 22. So let's address that elephant in the room first and foremost. How old are you?
I'm 712.
Okay.
I've been taking NMN for a lot. No, I'm not really. I am 31.
So the fact that you're 31 shouldn't be worrying about aging yet. What brought you into this field?
So a few things really, but a misspent youth because I didn't treat my body very well, and I started to notice, some negative signs. Thankfully, most of those gone away now. But also, we all have loved ones that are older, whether it's family, friends, and you start to see them deteriorate. So when I realized that the longevity research field even existed, I dove straight into it.
How did you find out that the longevity field existed? Because what year was this?
It would be maybe the end of 2018, start of 2019, around there.
Wow. So lots happened in 2-3 years.
A lot has happened. One of the things about this field is it's very, very fast moving. And when obviously I speak to researchers in the field, they tell me that it hasn't always been this way. It's only been the last few years that the curve has really started to get steep, which is great because the faster moving it is, the sooner we hit the end goal of, ending aging as we know it.
What is the role of Vera Gorbinova, who you mentioned, who is your lead advisory board member? And she did her own tech talk. You should really look her up.
Yeah, so I'll just touch on the advisory board as a whole to begin with, if
Sure.
that's okay. So we have currently 3 members of the advisory board. Dr. Madinat, who is from the Middle East, is an MD for obvious reasons. We have Nick Engerer, who is a longevity enthusiast. He writes about longevity. He has a PhD as well. And then there's Professor Gorbinova, who is going to be the most well-known of the 3. And in terms of the science, is the one that we lean on the most and we get the most advice from. And of course, now we work very well together as well. So a good example of the recycling loop I was telling you about is the Sirt6 Activator. So that's a product that we've created from the ground up alongside Professor Gorbinova. And I don't know how much your viewers will know about it, but it's basically a type of seaweed that activates Sirt2 and 6. So if you know resveratrol activates Sirt2 and 1, Sirt6 Activator obviously activates Sirt2 and 6, which is seen to have a big impact. So already, even though we're a very young company, 2 years old, we are having that full circle impact by having a product to market, and that product's already having a profound effect on many, many people that have taken it, which is great.
So I'm taking resveratrol, NMN, some vitamins, D, C, B12. What does it mean to people, well, regular people and then people like me, hypersensitive, taking multiple things? Is this a complement to resveratrol if you're taking NMN, the Sirt6 Activator? So it's going to help even more, or?
Yeah, definitely. So every time we add a product into the protocol, we make sure of the synergy there, because the way we like to explain it is that the sum is greater than the parts. So if you had one person taking NMN, one person taking resveratrol, and one person taking Sirt6 Activator, their combined benefits wouldn't be as much as the one person that's taking all 3.
Interesting.
Obviously, that's a very simplified version, but hopefully you understand where I'm coming from.
I want to hear more about Vera and your connection to her.
Vera, you'll notice that Vera isn't, involved with many other organizations beyond the research world. And we met through the field. The field's still not very big, even though it's huge compared to where it was 2 years ago. It's still small in real terms. And so that's how we met. And the reason she wanted to join DoNotAge is because of the mission. So I don't know if your viewers know, but the mission is to extend healthy lifespan for as many people as possible. And that's why, two parts to that: extend healthy lifespan, what we talked about earlier with products, with the information that we send out about exercise, diet, sleep, etc. And then for as many people as possible, that's why we try and keep the cost down. So I don't know if somebody like yourself that's quite new to NMN would know, but not so long ago, a 100-gram bag of NMN was $300 and something before we came to the market. We've now put the price to $145. And as soon as we can, we will drop that again. As soon as we can get the price down, we will, as long as we can keep the purity and quality intact. We're mission driven instead of profit driven, if that makes sense.
And so her main role then is to test the things that you come up with, or to actually help co-create the things that you come up with.
Yes, exactly. So there's a mixture of the two. And also, we ask her regularly about all sorts of other different things as well, and ask for her opinion on scientific papers and certain products. And, we might be testing a product in 10 or 20 people, and maybe the results are good, but then we speak to Vera and she says, but be careful because of this. So it gives us another aspect. Yeah. And as I said, it gives us another view. It gives us a very, very well-respected view. Vera is obviously the iconic lady behind a lot of what we know about hyaluronic acid. Again, I don't know if anyone has seen a TED talk, but if you go on our hyaluronic acid page, you can watch it there.
And you guys have a lot of products now. It's not an all-inclusive list of all the things people need to do, but if people took pretty much all your products, they're going to be fine. There's no safety issues there that you're
or
aware of any.
I don't think I look too bad.
And you take them all.
Yes, I do. In fact,
do you alternate days? Because I don't take TMG every day. I take it every other day.
I take TMG every day.
Every day.
I take quite a high dose of NMN, so I take TMG every day. People around my age tend to see smaller differences because we're going for the prevention side of things.
So I made one video about taking NMN and resveratrol, and another one about combining exercise with NMN and resveratrol. Guess which video got the most views? It was like 100,000 people watched the one just about taking the two things, and only 3,000 people or less watched the one that mentioned exercise. Yeah. Talk a little bit about the importance of that and how it enhances the benefits, or really fulfills what it's all about, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's not like if you don't exercise and you take the supplements, they won't have any difference. But I would say it's a bit silly to not do the free stuff, and the mobility of your body is very, very important as you get older. Retaining muscle mass, fighting off sarcopenia, it's really, really important. Like, obviously, as part of my role, I have to look at the data and see these things. And it's so, so, so important. Like, you can boost your NAD levels to the moon, but if you don't have that muscle mass and you're not looking after your body properly in terms of movement, there's no point. So I would strongly advise that everybody make sure they're exercising, getting their diet right, getting their sleep right. Sleep is huge. We spend like a third of our lives sleeping. We should focus on that.
Because I know you sleep better when you don't drink alcohol, but your stuff, I noticed this, and then we talked a little bit about this in the pre-call, but I don't feel the effects the day after of having, if I do go on a little binge and have two, 3 extra beers, I don't feel bad the next day. What's going on with that, sir?
I honestly think it would be irresponsible of me to answer that honestly, because I don't want to promote.
No, I don't recommend it. I just think it is kind of funny. And actually, I am actually drinking less so that I'll get more of that sleep you were talking about, that deep REM sleep. But
NAD boosters are, for me at least, very good hangover cure, for want of a better word. But that doesn't mean I want everybody to go out and get smashed and then.
But it's like for someone like me that that does do drink responsibly. Maybe I didn't always, but I do now. But once a month, I'm good for a blowout. I'm good for a blowout. It's nice to know the next day I'm not going to be a complete wreck. And I'm not promoting people going crazy and use it as a hangover. I think the people who are really interested in this, that may be somewhere on the spectrum of their interest, but I don't think it's the driving motivator. I think people are suffering, as I did, from the effects of aging, and they're looking for something to do, something to solve this. Yeah. I recently changed my diet. I've also heard about Stephen Gundry, the author of The Plant Paradox.
Yeah.
And his recommended diet, which can be pretty severe at first, but basically he says no more sugars, no more processed foods, avoid a lot of the starches, but some of them are great. How important, from your perspective, working with the scientists, practicing a healthy diet, as well as the working out, as well as the better sleep habits? Let's address that diet part of it a little bit.
It is an important issue, but with diet, it's one that we really, really don't know what the best diet is. What it's starting to look like to me, in my small brain, is that there might not be a perfect diet. There might be different perfect diets for different types of people.
And I know David Sinclair talks about this a lot, because he actually says fasting would be his number. If you didn't do anything else, fasting would be his number one.
Yeah, I think that's because of the amount of proof around caloric restriction, and the fact that it's easy and free for everybody to do, and the fact that it's starting to look more like when you eat is more important than what you eat. But I think in terms of the original question, diet, the best answer we have at the moment is something similar to the Mediterranean diet, because that's a similar thing to what we see in the blue zones, obviously, where we have lots of centenarians, etc.
So more yogurts, olive oils, vegetables,
a
leafy
lot
vegetables.
Of fresh olive oil. So that's not cooked olive oil. That's as in putting the olive oil on your salad or whatever it may be.
Virgin olive oil,
Yeah, I think maybe if you're going to eat meat, make it fish. Nobody sticks to these diets 100% and eats clean all day, every day. Yeah. If you want to have a burger every now and then, rarely.
All right, I'm going to go have one. I'll be right back.
There's
a McDonald's down the street. No, I can be tempted.
What I don't want this to come across as is like preaching, saying here's what you must do, otherwise you're going to have an early death, because your life's also got to be worth living, right?
How do you decide which supplements to sell?
Lots of different factors. It's not an easy process. And recently, because obviously the size of our community, many tens of thousands, we've now got another aspect, which is listening to the community, listening to our members. Obviously we don't always go on what they say, because some of the things we don't believe in. But this week, DoNotAge just started selling NR. So you've sold another NAD booster. Now you're offering an alternative. Tell us why. Yeah, I'll finish what I was going to say. There's obviously we look at the research, then we speak to advisors, speak to other people if we need to. There are other people that we speak to as well, other professors and researchers that aren't on our advisory board. And then obviously it goes into trials. We always have some products being trialed in willing guinea pig humans at some stage. So we've got, the spermidine and the sleep products have already gone through that. They'll be coming out soon. We've got urolithin A. There's a lot of things we are working on at the moment, but the nicotinamide riboside was one that came from the community, because although it's only a small percentage, that small percentage for us is now many thousands of people. And they would say, look, the most common one was, I get everything from you except the NMN, because I want to take NR because there's more human data on it. Fine, that's their opinion, no problem. There's already a good brand of NR out there, which is Chromadex, and the only problem with it is it's a little bit expensive. So then we started replying and digging a bit deeper with these members, and we found out that almost none of them were taking that product. They were buying some anonymous thing that was calling itself NR from, one of the online marketplaces.
Oh, man. So the same thing I went through. Again, in my first big video.
Exactly.
I got faked out for 7 months, which is what led me to this whole Oh my God! So they're getting there's fake NR out there too. It's not just NMN.
Oh yeah, they'll fake anything
What's
they
in
can
these
just to get
fakes?
the
Have
money in.
anybody tested what's in some of these fakes?
So oftentimes it'll be caffeine or a caffeine substitute because that way when you take it, you feel more alert. You feel like you have more energy, and you go, "Oh, this stuff's great. This NR stuff's amazing." But it's not actually really NR.
They're getting caffeinated, and
So because
thinking it's NMN.
exactly, so because of how obviously the members feel about our brand, they said, "Look, if you did NR, we would get it from you." And then obviously now, if it was just they were buying it from somewhere else that was more expensive but legitimate, we wouldn't have a problem with that. But because we found out that people weren't taking the real deal,
The
we had to do something.
majority of NR people you talk to,
Oh yeah,
we're
yeah,
not taking the legitimate.
exactly. Because it's so much cheaper, so they go for the cheaper option, and that's not always the best way. So we are bringing in a well-priced NR product, which is now available on the website. And we've already had the questions: is it better than NMN? Is NMN better? Can you take them together? Do you need both? The answer is nobody really knows, but I don't think you need. My personal opinion is I don't think you need both. I'm going to continue with my NMN. If you're an NR person, now you have an option available to you. And I am exactly the same as many leading scientists. I'm on the fence. We don't know for sure which one is best. We all have our inklings. Obviously, we have some human data that's, test the NAD level, give them some product, test the NAD level. But for sure, we don't know.
If in your data is NMN slightly more compelling, because that's what I'm hearing from David Sinclair.
Yes, but again, there's a big argument about this because we're testing.
But you're selling both now, so we're not picking a side. But I didn't mean to put you on the spot there, but I think it's fair to address that the science that at least we're exposed to, because I don't, there are other people with different science and saying some of their own things, but NMN slightly more maybe compelling scientifically, but it's a newer molecule. That's fair to say. I'm trying to give this a little overview.
From what it looks like, from the small data set we have, it is a more efficient NAD booster, but we're only testing the blood, and so there's a big argument about would it be different in tissue.
The NAD gets into your cells, is that correct?
The way I would describe it is it's an upstream intervention. So boosting your NAD levels has lots of beneficial impacts downstream.
Beyond just energy and focus, but I talked
yeah.
about the sensitivity to hot and cold improving and stuff. You're hearing
100%.
those kinds of things from other people.
100%.
Amazing. Right now, we have this reality. We have physicians and we have pharmaceuticals.
Yep.
And they're sort of like one and the same. So I feel like, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot here, but that's kind of the reality we live in. You go to a doctor, and I think you'd be hard-pressed to leave without a prescription. Like, I bet you there's data out there somewhere. Everybody that has some kind of ailment, you go to a doctor, you're not leaving with a note to go to your to DoNotAge and order a supplement. They're not.
Well, that's not strictly true, actually. So it is generally younger doctors, but when did I speak to that guy? About a month ago now, I spoke to a doctor who's in his 70s, still practicing, and if he believes that someone will benefit from it, because he takes our products, if he believes someone will benefit from taking our products, he says, look, you haven't got anything actually wrong with you. What's happening is aging. Here's the one I use, sort of thing.
Future of supplements. So we're talking about NR and NMN. These are NAD boosters. I've heard about these super boosters, that there's some new things on the horizon. Are you guys involved in some of that research, or do you obviously have your ear to the ground? I see you smiling, but
yeah, it's being worked on. It's being worked on. I think the best advice I can give now is sign up to our email list if anybody's interested in finding out, because obviously as soon as we can say something, as soon as we're allowed to, we will shout from the rooftops.
There's going to be people like me that are going to stick with the regimen that's working. I'm not going to make any changes. I'll let other people be the guinea pigs.
Yeah.
But as I say to people, you have a risk reward. you weigh the risk reward based on your own situation. My life 2-3 years ago was rough, as I mentioned some of my ailments, and I was reaching a point where I was ready to try some things. So, and I think, and a lot of people are, like just hundreds of people that I've run across, and you guys deal with hundreds, if not thousands, every day, right? I mean, the numbers are staggering.
And it's easy, very easy to stay motivated. Very easy to stay motivated when you hear all these stories, because each one isn't just. I mean, it's amazing that person, but then the knock-on effect that has on their entire family. Like they become a nicer person, they become a better person. They can, they can do more for other people as well as themselves, as well as feeling better inside themselves. So each one of those usually affects a couple dozen other people and lifts them as well. And it's a win-win. So it's really easy to get up for work in the morning.
Tell me about your subscription plan, because cost comes up a lot. And just as our final kind of topic here, I'm glad I remembered this, because cost is a barrier for a lot of people. And then I sort of say, we'll take a look at their subscription plan, but you have to fill in some questions. Can you tell some people how that works?
Yeah, sure. So it's a completely customized annual subscription. So the reason we did that is because not everybody wants to take a gram of NMN a day. That's just one example. So for example, now I found the perfect amount for me is 2 grams a day. You may be different. Some people take 1.5, some, not many, but some take 2.5. Most people are on 1, mainly probably because that's the most common option. But so what happens is you go through the questions on the website and it will say how much of this do you want, and there's a slider and you can choose. And then for NMN and resveratrol, you can also choose whether you want capsules or powder. And what that means is you don't ever have to worry again about, I need to buy those. Are those out of stock? Is this happening? All these kind of things, and how much is the shipping and all this stuff. It's all sorted on your subscription. So you'll receive everything you need for the next 12 months in your first shipment. And then provided you're happy to carry on with everything in 12 months time, you'll receive it again, or you can add on to it, or you can cancel it anytime, obviously.
When they go that route, do they save over just buying things?
Yep. So it's anywhere from around 20% to 40%, depending on the products.
That's what I'm looking for. That's what I want to know. So that's one big advantage. You can customize it to your own uses and get exactly what you want, not have to worry about running out, and you save a pretty significant amount of money. And they can still use my code, the Pulse, on that subscription, so they could save another 10%.
When they renew, that code will stay with it, so they'll always have that 10% off. I think that the reason that we are trying to make the subscription as attractive as possible is because what we see is the longer people are on these regimes, the better the results. So it's one of those things, Because
we talked about the guy who felt like he was shot out of a cannon, but you also said in our
some people don't feel anything for 6 months.
Yeah, so keep that in mind. You may not feel like you're shot out of a cannon on day one. It may, or is it 6 months before the results happen, or before they actually notice the results? I mean, that's
the thing. And some people just have a slower curve. Maybe they're not doing other things, because lifestyle obviously affects it as well. So maybe they're not doing other things the way they should be. There's, as always, a myriad of factors that come into it.
I think there's a lot of 60-year-olds that feel pretty good and try. I know there are, because they've told me, but they go and try the program because they see people around them dropping like flies and falling apart and getting hurt and breaking hips, and they're like, what the heck? Maybe I'll try this just to prevent some of the stuff. So they're like you, but older versions of where the state that you're in, where you're just like preventing.
Yeah, and prevention is always better than cure. I mean, my friends think I'm insane because I take lots of supplements and do various things for my health, and I'm in my early 30s, but they won't think I'm insane.
This is like the bonus content. We already signed off, and now you're getting the bonus content. But there's some really good stuff now that I almost forgot. What is the okay, I promise, last question. What is the difference when you went from 1 gram to 2 of NMN? I'm really dying to know this.
So if I'm completely honest, it wasn't as much it wasn't as different as from when I went from 0 to 1.
Okay.
Because that was a huge change. And I also didn't go from 1 to 2. I went from 1 to 1.5, and then from 1.5 to 2.
Okay.
And I'm testing my NAD levels at various
I
points.
see. That's the magic trick. And you guys have
Yeah.
an NAD tester.
Yeah, that's right. So we were the first organization to make available for consumers anywhere in the world to test their NAD levels from home. It's a very, very simple pinprick on your finger, and then it's a blood spot onto a piece of paper. We include some liquid. You put the liquid over the blood spot, and that actually dries it and keeps it so that the blood saves. So that when it gets back to the lab, they then put some liquid on that livens the blood again, and they can test your NAD levels as if they were just taking that blood from your finger.
Wow. And how soon do they get the results back to you?
It depends, because obviously if you're in Australia, for example, it's going to take longer for the shipment of the blood spot paper to come back to us. But it's usually you're looking around the 3-week mark.
And you announced another new product, which is a bio-age tester, right?
Yes, that's right. So we used to have that in the past. We've now managed to bring the price down and increase what is offered. So it's not just a biological age test. It shows a myriad of things, but
how many different biomarkers are included?
I mean, you would have to look at the app, because it's a lot. It's a lot of information that you get. And it's not just about number of biomarkers to test the biological age. It's also about the information you then get. So our previous one just gave you an age, and this one gives you the age and then a load of other information underneath it.
So like blood test results that you'd get from a doctor typically, or?
Yeah, and
Okay, wow.
I mean it's a lot of information. I think the
Is
best
it
thing
listed on that product page for the
yeah, the
okay.
best thing for people to do is have a look at the product page on the website, because it's all listed out there, and it's very in depth, and we've managed to bring the price right down as well.
Well, great. I'm going to make sure that people don't sign off early so they check out the bonus content at the end of this video, because there's a lot of good stuff that I should have asked sooner. If you guys have questions, if there's something that I feel like really specific that I can't answer myself, I'll certainly pass it on to Alan, if that's cool, in the comments. I want to make sure that people keep commenting and keep giving us your feedback, your information. Last time I had a lot of great comments just bringing up some of this other stuff that I brought up today, like diet and exercise, because these are things that other people had brought up, as well. And I know if you just do this, if you just do that, I'm not devaluing any of those other things you should be doing. Get a great night's sleep, and I certainly am motivating people to do these things, but getting them on a good supplement plan has made a much bigger difference for me than exercise and diet alone made. So just saying. Thanks again for all you do, for all your time. I look forward to hearing more and seeing more at DoNotAge. And have a good rest of your year, Alan.
Thanks, Marcel. Thanks, viewers. Take care.
Take care.